Well, hello there. My name is Ruby Mutegi from the University of Nairobi, and today we are very much privileged to have a professor from Dublin University. Prof, kindly introduce yourself.
Thanks so much, Ruby. So my name is Janine Bozak. I'm a full professor in organizational psychology, behavior and HRM at Dublin City University Business School. Dublin is based in Ireland, which is an island off the coast of the UK. And I have to admit, in comparison to Kenya, it is a rather cold, shitty place that I come from. So in terms of my background, I'm actually German, but I've been living in Ireland for 17 years. I did my PhD degree in Germany, and then my PhD at the University of Bern in Switzerland, and started 17 years ago at Dublin City University Business School.
Wow. That's very profound. Welcome to Kenya. So if you don't mind, you can just tell us what brings you here, or what brings your university to this particular institution.
Yes, so I'm a very passionate teacher, researcher, and do some consultancy as well. And I have two research foci that I'm very passionate about. On the one hand, I focus on the topic of women in leadership, and my other research is on the topic of well-being in organizations. And the reason why I'm here is because I'm actually here on a secondment, basically a staff exchange, which has come about due to a very successful project. It was 1.3 million that was basically granted by Horizon Europe. So this is the so-called Get Me For project. Get Me For stands for Global Entrepreneurial Talent Management Project, and it's number 4 because there was a previous project. And it involves 8 prestigious universities, including Dublin City University, where I'm from, but also the University of Nairobi. And so the main idea of this project really is to focus on knowledge creation, knowledge exchange. There are various work packages, and I'm part of one particular work package which really resolves around the notion of, happiness, well-being, and health in the workplace. So that's what brought me over, and I'm very delighted to have Professor John Oredo being my host, and he's been absolutely amazing at it.
I'm so happy to hear that. You've mentioned that the particular program you're in is for wellness in the workplace. So how has your university and the University of Nairobi been able to sort of collaborate on that?
So the joint project really wants to look at health, happiness and well-being with regards to industry on the one hand, so particularly SMEs, and on the other hand, we're also focusing on the context of academia. And so the project is such that we have a quantitative as well as a qualitative part to the research project that all of the universities are involved in. And while I have been here at the University of Nairobi, John has kindly introduced me to 3 members of the university who I've had the pleasure of interviewing. And the focus really was around the question of their perception, for example, as employees of health, happiness and well-being in the academic context, especially being part of the University of Nairobi. It has been around the question of how technology and digitalization might, for example, impact their own health, well-being, but also their relationships, for example, with peers and colleagues. Because there's, on the one hand, the so-called bright side of technology, in a sense that it allows you to work remotely, for example, which I believe is done quite a lot here at the University of Nairobi. It allows you, for example, to have students engaged in online classes. So there's a lot of benefits to it also with regards to, for example, working parents managing work-life interface much better. The possible dark side or downside of technology is that sometimes it can lead a little bit to social isolation. You don't get to see each other that much anymore. As a result of that, some people might feel really lonely, and it might also impact you in terms of your mental health, for example. And some people also feel overwhelmed, for example, by technology and also the pace with which technology changes. We have had that experience particularly during COVID-19 in Dublin City University, where we had to go very abruptly from in-class teaching to online teaching. And I understood from my interviewees that that was pretty much the case here as well.
It has been the case, actually. That was the case here.
That was the case.
Yeah,
and I learned from the interviews that some people really embraced that and they found it very easy. And it might also be a generational question. Not necessarily so. I also know some people of more advanced age, and I probably belong among them already.
No.
We'll get on top of that as well, maybe a bit more slowly. But I also heard that some people, and I know some people in my university, and I learned that some people here in this university as well found it rather challenging to embrace that, and might have even decided to retire as a result of that. So yeah, so some of the questions basically resolved around that in terms of the interviews that I was conducting.
Wow, that's a very, I don't know, it's a very broad topic, and it's also an important topic. I think that most institutions would overlook, you know, the whole online thing has changed a lot. Has changed a lot of how we used to do things, and the transition has impacted a lot, even not only for the staff, also for the students. And the fact that you guys are having that conversation, I think that's very, very impactful. And from your time here and what you've gathered and the interviews you've done, can you say you have your answers? Was it successful?
I think
What's
I've
it
learned
like?
loads. I think it was really interesting to listen to my interviewees. I think there were a lot of parallels in terms of the kind of experiences that we have had with regards to health, well-being and happiness, the kind of supports that we might experience also from the universities or, for example, department chairs. I think there were some cross-cultural differences, and I think that's what we're trying to tease out as well. So as I said, there are 8 universities involved, based in different countries. I'm not sure I'll get them all named, but there's Northern Macedonia, Estonia, we have the UK, Ireland, Slovenia, Kenya, Chile, South Korea. I think that's about them. I might have forgotten one. But basically those countries are very different in terms of their culture, in terms of their economy, in terms of unemployment rates and so on, which obviously all also, as the macro sort of environment, affects your own happiness, health and well-being, right? So I think that's going to be really interesting to look at in terms of teasing out these cross-cultural similarities, but also differences. And the interviews are only one part. So I've also been looking at the survey design together with Matej Cern, who is a professor based at the University of Slovenia. That's the country that I forgot. So here we go. And so the idea is that we are going to roll out that survey very soon as well, in order then to see what kind of quantitative findings can complement basically the interview data that we're going to have.
Wow, we're definitely looking forward as the university. So as we kind of just wrap things up, how are you finding the institution, and how do you find Kenya in general?
I love University of Nairobi. It's been very exciting to be here, and I have to say John has been amazing in terms of introducing me to various staff members and students. I had some really interesting conversations also with Professor Karen Udyambo, the chair of the psychology department, around research. I think we both share an interest in the topic of gender equality and women. She's done some amazing work there, so it was fantastic to listen to her. Very applied projects as well, with important, I'd say, industry and policy implications. We also had some conversations around best practices with regards to doctoral education. So I used to be director of doctoral studies in my university a while back. Did it for 5 years, managing a PhD program of roughly 100 PhD scholars. I had some really interesting conversations with scholars as well as people working in industry as part of an AI workshop that John organized. So over dinner, for example, I was introduced to people working in various different areas, and AI again was part of our interviews because that's kind of what is keeping us occupied, not just in academia but more generally, I'd say. And it's the question of, again, how digitalization impacts all of us. While my focus probably in the university is very much around AI and academic integrity, there are also other very relevant questions around it that I learned about in terms of sustainability, for example, and so on, as part of those conversations. Yeah, and in general, being in Kenya has been amazing. So I think I've experienced the country as very friendly, very welcoming. The people are really kind and warm, and yeah, it's been really amazing to have that kind of change in perspective. And I think that's what these secondments are about: knowledge exchange, having new experiences, and getting to know new people. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear
enriching our networks,
that.
we're all part of one big world. So.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad you've learned something also from this institution, and you've probably taught them something as well. And you've enjoyed Kenya, you know. That's really amazing to hear. So before we wrap things up, do you have any last words you'd like to say?
Just asante, is this right? Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you to John, thank you to the Get Me For, project for bringing me over. Thank you to my university for also allowing me to go on this secondment. And thanks to everyone here in Kenya who has been so incredibly welcoming, including University of Nairobi and yourselves. Thank you.
We are so honored to have you. It's a privilege for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ruby. Thanks a lot.
UNC TV, empowering you.